Yankees fans, buckle up because the offseason is barely underway and the storylines coming out of the Bronx are already loud enough to shake the entire league. And before anyone dives headfirst into contract drama, potential signings, or all the tension simmering behind the scenes, we need to talk about something that hit a different emotional note this week. While the conversation around our rotation has been intense ever since that painful postseason exit, one of our pitchers stepped away from all the noise and found himself back where everything started. And honestly, this moment might be exactly what he needed after a season that carried both redemption and heartbreak. Carlos Rodon returned home, not to Yankee Stadium, not to another media session, but to the university where his baseball journey first started taking shape. His trip back to North Carolina State became a symbolic pause in the chaos, a reminder of the roots that shaped him long before the pressure of New York, long before the postseason frustration, long before the spotlight demanded perfection. Over the weekend, Rodon was officially welcomed into the school's prestigious Ring of Honor, an achievement that marks just how dominant he was during his college years. The ceremony took place ahead of a packed football game, and you could see on his face how much the moment meant. He even shared photos online, including one where he held a framed piece combining his current Yankees look with his old Wolfpack days, almost like a timeline of everything he has fought through to get here. And when you think about the last few seasons he has lived through, the timing almost feels poetic. His college numbers still stand as some of the best the program has ever seen. He spent 3 full seasons wearing that uniform and completely overwhelming hitters. An earned run average a little above 2, more than 400 strikeouts, and a presence on the mound that made scouts circle his name long before draft day. It was that dominance that pushed him into the top 3 of the 2014 Major League Baseball draft, and it was that same fire that eventually convinced the Yankees to invest in him as a key part of their long-term rotation. Now he is heading into the 4th season of his 6-year deal in New York, and this past regular season might have been his most convincing stretch since arriving in the Bronx. He earned an all-star nod, posted an earned run average a little above 3, struck out more than 200 batters, and built a solid partnership with Max Fried, who stepped up as the ace this year. For a moment, it really felt like the Yankees had finally assembled the kind of 1-2 punch that could carry them through October with authority. But the postseason came crashing down fast. In just 2 starts, Rodon struggled badly, giving up more runs than anyone expected and leaving fans stunned as the team was eliminated earlier than anticipated. And that is what made this return to NC State so important. Sometimes the biggest athletes in the world need to step away from the noise and remember the version of themselves that first fell in love with the game. Rodon was celebrated, appreciated, and reminded of the player he still is at his core. For someone who has dealt with injuries, criticism, pressure, and the expectations that come with a massive contract, this moment felt like a mental reset. Yankee fans know how unforgiving the spotlight can be, and seeing one of our pitchers honored in such a personal way brings a rare breath of positivity during a winter full of questions. Because, let us be honest, the Yankees are entering a critical 2026 window. The franchise has not lifted a World Series trophy since 2009, and that drought weighs heavier every year. Rodon is expected to be a pillar of the rotation, someone who can help steer the team back into legitimate title contention. The hope is that this ceremony becomes the spark he needs to bring that same NC State confidence back to Yankee Stadium. The team needs him at his best, especially with the American League becoming more competitive every season, and especially with how sharply the postseason exposed the gaps that still exist. But while Rodon's moment was emotional and uplifting, the Yankees' next major storyline is anything but peaceful. It shifts from nostalgia to urgency in a heartbeat, because the front office is staring at a roster question that could define the entire future of this lineup. When Cody Bellinger arrived in the Bronx last season, he brought exactly what fans were begging for: a reliable bat, elite defense, versatility across the outfield and first base, and a left-handed swing built for Yankee Stadium short porch. He blended into the culture faster than most mid-season acquisitions ever do, and his energy quickly won over the crowd. He was the steady presence the team desperately needed after losing key offensive pieces, and despite the season ending earlier than anyone hoped, Bellinger's impact was undeniable. But now the situation has shifted dramatically. Bellinger opted out of his contract and officially entered free agency, leaving the Yankees with a massive decision to make. Losing him would reopen the same hole the team spent so much time trying to patch last year. And not only did he perform well, he did it with a combination of skill and poise that made the lineup feel balanced again. The early predictions across the league claim the Yankees will push hard to keep him, with some projections estimating a contract worth around $168 million. For what he brings on both sides of the ball, many believe he is exactly the type of player the Yankees cannot afford to lose, especially after falling short in the division series. And honestly, anyone who watched him day in and day out knows how true that is. He saved runs with his glove, delivered big swings in tight games, and proved he could handle the Bronx pressure that often overwhelms newcomers. That is why his decision to test the market created a wave of anxiety across the fan base. The team cannot take another step backward offensively, not when the competition is climbing and not when the championship drought has stretched this far. Re-signing him feels less like an option and more like a necessity for a franchise trying to stabilize its identity before 2026 arrives. But here is where things get complicated, because while the predictions make Yankees fans feel a little more secure, the financial reality behind this negotiation is turning into something far more intense than anyone initially expected. The optimistic outlook says the Yankees can get a deal done in the $168 million range. But the moment you dig deeper into the reports from around the league, you start to realize this might only be the beginning of the price tag, not the end of it. The truth is that no matter how well Bellinger played in New York, no matter how comfortable he looked in pinstripes, and no matter how badly the fans want him back, the free agency landscape is not built on emotion. It is controlled by leverage, and his agent is the master of turning leverage into numbers that make teams sweat. The buzz coming from insiders suggests that this negotiation could turn into a drawn-out chess match where every week brings new pressure. And if there is one thing every franchise in Major League Baseball has learned over the past decade, it is that Scott Boras never leaves money on the table. He is known for pushing deals far beyond early projections, and he has a history of dragging negotiations deep into the offseason to make sure the market inflates as much as possible before he signs anything. That is why the idea of the Yankees having some kind of advantage just because Bellinger performed well in New York has already been completely dismissed by those who understand how these things really work. There is no such thing as a hometown discount. There is no friendly nudge to stay with familiar teammates. There is no emotional edge. There are only numbers, and those numbers grow every time a rival team shows even a hint of interest. And that is exactly why some insiders are warning the Yankees that this could become a financial battle unlike anything they expected. While the early projections hover below $200 million, there are voices claiming that the real price might explode far beyond that. Some believe this could turn into a negotiation where the final value reaches $300 million or more. Others fear it could climb as high as $450 million once the back and forth begins. That kind of figure sounds outrageous, even ridiculous, but the truth is that the market has changed dramatically over the past few years. The biggest stars are securing deals that were nearly unimaginable a decade ago, and Bellinger provides the exact combination of defense, offense, age, and versatility that teams love to invest in. For the Yankees, this creates a new kind of pressure. They cannot pretend they're the only team in the conversation. They cannot assume their brand is enough to convince a star to stay. The days when players signed simply because they wanted to wear pinstripes are fading, and the last decade of baseball has proven that other franchises have surpassed the Yankees when it comes to aggressiveness and long-term planning. The Dodgers, for example, have dominated both the spending race and the success column, building powerhouse rosters while the Yankees have struggled to turn their investments into championships. The idea that the Yankees still hold automatic negotiating power is outdated, and that reality is starting to sting. What makes the Bellinger situation even more stressful is the timing. The Yankees are entering a crucial window, one where the front office cannot afford to take a step backward. The roster is talented, but not complete. The rotation looks strong, but not unbeatable. The lineup shows potential, but carries inconsistencies that expose themselves during the postseason. And after losing Juan Soto in free agency last year, the Yankees cannot risk losing another elite left-handed bat. If Bellinger walks, they would be forced into a scramble to find a replacement, and the alternatives remaining on the market do not offer the same combination of production and fit. That is why the predictions say the Yankees will do everything possible to keep him. But the insiders warn that everything possible may come at a cost that tests the very limits of what the organization is willing to spend. It also brings up an uncomfortable question for fans. If this negotiation drags deep into the offseason and the numbers climb higher and higher, at what point does the price become too much? At what point does the front office decide that keeping Bellinger is worth sacrificing financial flexibility for the future? There is no easy answer here. Letting him walk would create a massive hole. Overpaying him could limit future moves. And the Yankees are stuck right in the middle, knowing that every path carries a risk that could affect the next several seasons. While all of this is unfolding, the emotional contrast between Rodon's return to his college roots and the chaos surrounding Bellinger's free agency becomes even more striking. On one side, you have a player who just reconnected with the origins of his career, trying to gather strength and motivation to deliver in a city that expects nothing short of excellence. On the other, you have a star whose future is suddenly tangled in a financial war that could reshape the entire Yankees blueprint. One story gives hope. The other brings uncertainty. And both have the potential to shape the identity of the team heading into 2026. The Yankees fan base is split between optimism, fear, frustration, and anticipation. Some believe the franchise should pay whatever it takes. Others worry that overspending now will place the team in a dangerous position later. And everyone is watching, waiting for any sign that negotiations are heading in a positive direction. The front office knows they cannot afford another public misstep. The pressure is real, and the stakes have rarely been higher. As the offseason continues, the Yankees will need to navigate these challenges with precision. Rodon must return next year ready to pitch like the star he was during the regular season, fueled by the grounding moment he just experienced at NC State. The rotation needs him locked in, healthy, and consistent. And at the same time, the organization must figure out how far they are willing to go to keep Cody Bellinger in the Bronx. The competition will be fierce, the numbers will climb, and the Yankees cannot afford to underestimate the strength of the market or the influence of his representation. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. Whispers are swirling through the baseball world after reports emerged that George Kirby has been announced by the Yankees, stirring an immediate sense of shock and excitement across the league. While the organization has yet to offer deeper details, the very idea of Kirby slipping into pinstripes has already sent fans and analysts into a frenzy. The move feels like the kind of quiet but earth-shaking maneuver the Yankees love to drop without warning, leaving everyone guessing how far-reaching its consequences might be for their rotation. Kirby, long viewed as one of the most composed and precise arms in the game, is now being discussed as a potential anchor inside a staff that has been searching for stability, consistency, and that extra jolt of competitive fire. Rumors are bubbling that the Yankees see him not just as a new addition, but as an immediate pillar, someone capable of reshaping the pitching hierarchy from the moment he arrives. Observers are already speculating that his presence could change roles, shift innings, and subtly, or not so subtly, redefine expectations for returning pitchers. Inside league circles, the chatter is growing louder. Some insiders insist this move signals a broader strategy unfolding behind the scenes, the first tremor of a bigger reconfiguration. Others whisper about how Kirby's controlled aggression and near-clinical command might be the missing piece the Yankees have quietly coveted. Even rival executives are said to be raising eyebrows, wondering how such a transition came together and what it means for their own plans. although official statements remain minimal. The mood around the clubhouse is described as buzzing. Players are reportedly exchanging messages. Fans are dissecting every angle on social media, and scouts are rerunning mental evaluations, trying to measure just how large Kirby's impact could be. The Yankees, as always, remain calm on the surface, but beneath it all, the current is unmistakable. Something significant is shifting. Whether this becomes a turning point or merely the spark to a larger firestorm, the rumor mill keeps spinning. One thing seems certain for now: George Kirby wearing Yankee pinstripes is already one of the most talked about developments of the season, and the ripple effect has only just begun. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.